Okay, so now we're gonna antique this. Okay, I've just fetched some gloves. We're now going to antique this. Oh, yeah, bleed it. Okay, I want a little sponge. Okay, so I can. There we go. I think. I know it's a bit dark here, but okay. So we'll antique this now. Hopefully there's enough. It's really going to bring out these pattern and there's quite a few ways of going about this. If you want it a distressed look, if you okay. Oh, that's nice. That's really brought out that get into the nooks and crannies so we can bring out them. What I'm doing here is picking parts to accentuate. Whoops, hopefully you can see that. I know it's really dark here. I'll have to get some lighting for this bit. Okay. What I need to do is just get into these bits here now. Sorry, I've just got to go out of frame a minute. Okay. Just adding some texture to it and some shade so there'll be lights and darks. Okay, what I'll do now. He hasn't stressed me out over it, asked me where it is, how long, you know, keeping stressing me out. And because he's been like that, I always go out my way. You know, he didn't ask me for elaborate dovetails, carbon fibre, high-end bull scales, real intricate shit, you know, that's took me a couple of days to make. Because he's been like that, I haven't, you know, I've gone out my way to do more than I would normally, because it means a lot to me. I know it's hard waiting and it seems like forever when you're waiting for this stuff, but hopefully, just like, you know, that customer's email who said, you know, it was, you know, a bit more than, you know, he'd normally spent on himself and all that type of stuff. But it was worth the wait and it was worth it. I hope that when people do, you know, finally get there, the ones that have been on my books and some have waited a while, you know, and they get it. Like that multi-carry I did the other day for him with his custom field and forest. You know, I done him a burl handled fire steel and I just gave it to him for free. It was my way of thanking him for being patient and not driving me nuts. It goes a long way with me, that type of stuff. You know, I can't always do it, but I do try, and I always try and do a bit more. You know, I try my best. There's only me. I can only do so much. I'd love to please everybody. I'd love to stick a field master in everybody's hand. I'd love to be able to stick a camp and field in everybody. You know, I'd love to be able to. You all get something from me, but I just can't do that. It's so. The ones who've waited a long time, I try my best to go out their way, but if they've emailed me and, you know, been driving me mad and driving me up the wall, a lot of the times I'll just do a refund. It's not worth the stress and the you know, and that's it then. I won't never make them nothing again. Anyway, okay, so excuse me. I've drawn round the sheath now, and we're going to create the welt. Anybody who's just starting out with this, you'll find, and it'll probably drive you nutty, that welts, they really do use, I'm going to go a bit longer than I need with this, and we can trim. They really do use an awful lot of leather for what they do, really. It's it seems an awful waste sometimes. It drives you mental, especially if you're doing really big sheets. There's no way around it. Don't like cut a piece and then cut it and then butt another piece up against it. It's not the way to go, and you don't want that gap in there. It needs to be one piece is what I'm saying. Okay. As much as, you know, you'll probably hate doing it and you'll think, all that leather for that, but it is what it is. You know, welts, they don't have to be absolutely perfect to the line, or not like when you're cutting something out very important, but and like I say, it's better to have a bit too much than not enough. You know, sometimes I'll leave a little bit just over as well, so that when I come to sand it, you know. Okay. Working on the strap. Okay, so we'll have that there. Coming over the top like that. Then he can put his finger into the little hole there and flip that up out the way, which will then come out the way. Okay, so what we need to do now is work on the stitching. Just gonna have a solid brass antique topper on this one. Okay. Right. And now we want to figure out where we want it to, the stitching to start, which is probably about there. Start making some holes. I'll antique this off camera and just put a few quilting patterns on. You've seen me do it. So whenever I'm going around anything, I always like just the double pricking iron. It makes life a lot easier. Okay, and we can bring them two together. Just checking the spacing. Right, so they're going to be a bit unequal, so if we bring that one back to about there, that's it. Okay, so just so we got two smaller equal stitches. Okay, that'll be for his for the back. Okay, I've only gone with a lightweight leather for this strap rather than a big heavy duty one. It's not needed, and it'll make this a little bit more flexible and easier to move out the way. Okay, so I'll carry on with this and I'll bring you back for installation. Okay, right, so what we want now is that strap to go on there, and what I'm going to use is a Sam Brown stud on this. It's just perfect for this. It just warrants a Sam Brown, not a popper. It'll look better. It's what it needs. Okay, so what we need to do now is fix that. We need to sew that on. So right. Okay, we need to sew that on there. But first things first is we need to mark and key that up. Okay, take the scratch all. Always keep inside them dots, obviously, because then smooth it down a little. Oops. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, because if you go outside of them, obviously you're going to go out onto the sheath itself, and you definitely don't want that. Okay, so what we do now is apply the glue. Put a little clamp on it. I'll let that set for 5 minutes or so. Morning YouTube. It's now Monday morning, and I wanted to bring you along for this to finish it all up. This is where we're at. We've got the strap. We're just going to sew the strap on, and that didn't sound right. Finish the holes. What I would like to say is, you know, I still get many emails every day for leather work. You know, I just can't do as much as I used to do, unfortunately, but I try and do what I can, and I still take the odd order on. Please don't flood me with emails for the leather work, you know. But what I will say is my sister has started to do the leather work. She's got a real flair for it, and obviously she's I've been tutoring her and helping her along the way with this dyeing art. Obviously things will be a little bit different with my sister, you know, as with any leathersmith or any artist. We all have certain types of looks, you know, a certain way we do things and stuff like that. But what will be the same is the same fit and finish and the same execution, which is most important. You know, she'll find her own way and her own unique style, and eventually, hopefully, she'll become known for her style and her outlook and how she wants things to look, and she'll keep pushing forward. And what she's enjoying doing is dog collars, belts, that type of thing. So if anybody is interested in anything like that, and I'm helping her, so I've got a lot of input in this at the minute. If anybody wants anything like that, or you know, would like to purchase something like that maybe, or you know, as a collaboration between me and my sister, just let me know, and I'll see what I can sort out. I just thought I'd throw that out there anyway. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll sort the collar out. Sorry, the collar. We'll sort the retention strap out. Okay, I'll try. It's very difficult to keep your hands out the way. With leatherwork it is, unless you have, you know, the camera right above you, and it's not something I've figured out yet, and I'm going to maybe try and rig something up to do that. But you know, I find it very difficult, without making a mistake as well, to do these things without my hands in the way. What I'm thinking of doing is maybe getting another camera so that it can be filmed from both directions anyway. Then we'll go around with the, excuse me, not that it should really matter that much that you not actually see the pricking iron going through the holes, but because that's all I'm doing. But I know some people, and you know, they like to see, you know, these processes and stuff, and I understand that. But okay, now when we've done that, I always take freehand stitch groove and recess those stitches. This is a tool that I find takes a little bit of time to master, to be honest, this little freehand stitch groove. Well, it did for me anyway. I mean, some people might pick it up and find it easy straight away. but eventually you become to be able to draw with it like a pencil or a pen, and you'll make your grooves neat and where they should be. But it wasn't something that I found so easy at first, for me anyway. You know what? Yes, I've made a lot of this stuff, but you know, I am self-taught. I taught this myself, as I did with the guitar, the knife making, and many other things. You know, I didn't have a tutor or anybody I could go and sit with and show me, Lee, this is the right way, this is the wrong way, this is how you do it, this is how you go about it. I just sat down and, you know, started to learn it. I mean, there's a lot more now on YouTube with people like me and, you know, many others that are showing this process, which certainly helps an awful lot. There wasn't so much when I started doing this. You know, some of the books that I did purchase are quite antiquated, but they helped. But there's nothing like the hands-on and doing it, so I might do some, you know, to a traditionalist or another leather worker, you know, it might not be the traditional way of doing things. But like I tell anybody, and I tell my kids an awful lot, it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you get there, and the end result is what you want at the end, and it's what your customer or client wants when you've finished. So there's no special way, or you know, there's no certain way of doing these things. There's an easier way of doing things and a smarter way sometimes, but there's no set way. There's not a, you know, you must do it this way. You know, you must. You know, it doesn't work like that, especially with the leather work. There's easier ways, and there's quite clever ways of doing stuff, and stuff that'll speed up the process. But there's no. Some traditionalists might be a bit, you know, funny about certain processes, but I don't really subscribe or believe in that. I believe that as long as your execution, your fit and finish, and the way you want the item to look, and first and foremost that it's, you know, very practical, hard wearing, especially with leather goods, more than the aesthetic side, is more important. Obviously we all love really pretty things and aesthetics things. I tend to find you're better to focus on the function first, and then that'll follow. Okay, so we need to sew that on. I might as well, I'll do a few of these, but I ain't going to bring you along for them all. We've got to then go through, pull the holes through into the welt, which I've already gave one coat, as I said, of glue, contact adhesive. Let that settle now. That's sunk into that leather now, and it's penetrated right into the fibres. When I come to put the second coat on, it will then stick to the coat that's actually into the fibres. That's why I do what I do. That's why I do that process with the glue. It's better. You get a much better bond than you would with just the glue sitting on top of the glue. Okay, so glue. I think I used this longer one for this. I'll do just a few holes. You don't need to see me go all the way through, but you get the idea. And then I'll probably bring you along for a bit of sewing. Okay. Okay, so I'll do this. Okay, so I've just done a the oil just went in my hand. Okay, so I've just done a just to make sure it's going to line up, as you can see. So I know that's fine, so what we'll do is we'll stick some contact adhesive on now, and we'll glue it together. I'll have to let that set, rather than bring you along and boring you to tears, as I'm probably doing anyway. I'm glad you enjoy some of these leatherworking videos. I know I'm not the greatest or the best at this, but you know, I do it because I get asked, you know, so much, and people say, Lee, you know, it really helps. It does help. You help. I can't see it. But I know I'm not the best person in the world at describing things or showing how it's done, but I do try. You know, and if it helps somebody out and it gives some person a bit of encouragement to have a go at this dying art, then great. I've done my job at the end of the day. If you do hear a lot of noise, it's like I say, it's because it's my daughter's birthday, and I've got the little one, the kids, both of them off school. So, and I've had to drop the missus off to work, and I've got them all. And it's absolutely manic here at the minute because she's got friends staying over for her birthday, and as you know, she's 14 today, and teenagers are teenagers. It's just excuse me 1 minute. I'll just okay. Oh dear. I feel like pulling my hair out. But what do you do? It's a birthday, and the little and no matter how much I try and tell him to be quiet, it ain't going to happen. So I'll let these set. Okay, so we start now in lining these up. I'll go for that one. Now I'm not really forcing these together at the minute in case I've got to adjust, or you know, so I'm only gently putting them together. Okay, there we go. What I'll do now is just pick another couple just to make sure. Okay, pick another one, especially the corners always tend to be a problem. That's fine. Yep, I think that'll be okay. So what we do now is we'll set them. What you can always do, if it doesn't line back up, what you can do is you know, you can still go through with your awl. Okay, hopefully you'll hear me over the racket. This is the last few stitches I want to get done with the saddle stitching. What I'm doing here is what's known in the trade as a cast. You cast the thread over so that it forms the granny knot inside. Okay, so just thought I'd bring you along for these last few. And yeah, we've just got to sort the edges out and we're done.